Hello once again, everyone, and thanks for listening to Master English with Tim, the podcast where Tim teaches you English in depth and detail and without ever hurrying. I'm Tim, native speaker English teacher from the United States, teacher since 2005, polyglot, world traveler, writer of several resources for learning English, and also, of course, podcaster, now for 101 episodes. In this week's episode, I am going to teach you 10 words from the NGSL, or New General Service List, a list of the 2,800 most used words in English with a stronger focus on written and formal vocabulary. You know, the kind of words that make you sound smart when you use them correctly. This week, we've got 10 words that are from closer to the end of the list. We have words 1,811 to word 1,820. Remember that words with lower numbers are less advanced and more common, while words at the end of the list are more advanced and less common. Still, even the last word in the NGSL, word number 2,800, is still pretty common because university-educated adult native speakers typically have a vocabulary of around 25,000 words. So word number 2,800 is just past the 10% mark, so it's still quite common. And in any case, today we are dealing not with 2,800, but 1,811 out of 2,800. So, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I've done quite a few episodes about the NGSL. This one will be a little different because for some of the words, I've included information about etymology, or history of words, which is a topic I really love. So, we're almost ready to start. Before we start, I want to make 2 suggestions to help you get the best result from your listening. The first is to listen carefully and not be afraid to listen to one half of the episode now and the second half later. That's because we have a lot of information, 10 target words with 24 meanings and 88 examples. So yeah, it might be a good idea to break the listening into a couple of parts, if not more. The second thing that will help you get the best result possible is to try to find collocations while you are listening. Collocations are words that are often used together. For example, cancel a meeting is a collocation, and pay attention is a collocation, and artificial lake is a collocation. Now, wait a second. What's an artificial lake? Well, an artificial lake is a lake that is made by engineers rather than by nature. So artificial lake, the phrase is a collocation. When you know a lot of collocations for a particular word that you are learning, then you can more easily use that word in real situations. Okay, so finally, now let's get started with word number 1,811, angry. This word has just one meaning, and it is an adjective. So the meaning is experiencing or feeling anger. So anger is the emotion that a person feels when they want to harm others who they believe have harmed them or their interests. 6 examples. 1. My nephew's favorite computer game is Angry Birds. 2. Why are you so angry? Because you never listen to me. 3. I think Joel is angry at me or with me because he hasn't answered my messages in months. 4. Nobody likes to spend time with her because she's always angry about something and never stops complaining. 5. I get angry slowly, but when I finally am angry, I am really angry. 6th and last. You look angry. What's wrong? I'm not angry about anything. I'm just very tired. Okay, that's all for angry. Let's move on to 1,812, knock. That's written K-N-O-C-K, knock. This one has 4 meanings, all of which are closely related to each other. The first meaning is a verb. To strike a hard object hard enough to make a sound that is easily heard. For example, I'm going to knock on the wall. 6 examples. Did you just hear someone knock on the door? Yes, I think so. 2. In Germany, people often knock on the table instead of clapping. Actually, let me knock on the table right now so you can hear what that sounds like. Just knocked on the table. Okay, number 3. Please don't just walk into my room. You need to knock before entering. 4. If the police think that the person that they're looking for is dangerous, they don't knock, they just enter. 5. Ouch, that hurts. What happened? I just knocked my elbow against the table. You can also just say, I just knocked my elbow on the table. 6th and last. She walked around the house and knocked on every window, but no one was home. Second meaning, a noun. The short, low-pitched sound that is made when one hard object strikes another. 3 examples. 1. Did you just hear a knock? I'm not sure. I'll go see if someone is at the door. 2. What was that loud knock I heard upstairs? Oh, the soap fell out of my hand when I was taking a shower and fell onto the floor. 3rd and last. How did you break your leg? I heard a knock at the door, thought it was the police, and jumped out the back window. 3rd meaning, this one's a verb. To hit someone or something hard enough that it may fall and or cause damage. So this one is often combined with prepositions of movement like off and down. 5 examples. 1. The hurricane knocked down trees all over the region. 2. American football players get knocked by other players simply all the time, and that can't be good for their heads. 3. I knocked our beautiful old vase off the table, but fortunately it fell onto the carpet and wasn't damaged. 4. Earthquake-prone countries like Japan and Mexico make buildings that are not easily knocked down when the earth starts shaking. 5th and last. Earthquake-resistant construction is not a strictly modern phenomenon. The Maya, ancient Persians, and ancient Chinese all designed structures that are not easily knocked down by earthquakes, and indeed, some of these structures still stand today, hundreds of years after they were first built. 4th and last meaning. An impact that is hard enough to make something fall and or cause damage. Just 2 examples. 1. He took such a hard knock while playing rugby that he had to stop playing for the rest of the game. 2nd and last. The helmets that coal miners wear protect their heads from the knocks they often make while working underground. So you can hear there the collocation is take a knock to the head, take a knock to the elbow, etc. Next word, 1813, seed, S-E-E-D. This one has 4 meanings. Actually, there are even more than 4, but the remaining ones were kind of rare, and some of them were about professional sports, so I didn't include them. So the first meaning, though, is a noun, and it is the small, hard part of a plant that, when put in the ground, grows larger and becomes a new plant. 5 examples. 1. Some plants, for example, pumpkins and sunflowers, have edible seeds. So edible seeds are seeds that you can eat. So some plants, for example, pumpkins and sunflowers, have edible seeds, but a few, for example, apples, have seeds that are actually poisonous. Actually, you can say have seeds, or a more interesting collocation is to bear seeds. If a plant bears seeds, it has them. So let me read that again. Some plants, for example, pumpkins and sunflowers, bear edible seeds, but a few, for example, like apples, bear seeds that are actually poisonous. 2. Avocados have unusually large seeds. 3. Farmers plant seeds in the spring and harvest their produce in the late summer. 4. I watched some videos on the best way to plant tomato seeds. I followed their advice and hope I get good results. 5th and last. Another way to say plant seeds is sow seeds. Plant seeds and sow seeds mean the same thing, but usually we say sow seeds when talking about the planting of many seeds over a large area. By the way, sow with that meaning is spelled S-O-W. Second meaning, also a noun. Conditions that are likely to lead to a particular result, often negative. 2 examples. 1. Instead of fighting open wars with one another, countries often try to sow the seeds of chaos in their enemies' heartlands using propaganda and deception. 2nd and last. The seeds of my success were already planted when I was born. I had hardworking parents who gave me a good education and taught me how to earn and save money. Third meaning. This one is connected with agriculture. to put seeds onto or in the ground. 3 examples. 1. In the spring, farmers begin seeding the ground with whatever plants they want to grow. 2. Seeding the garden is the easiest part. Taking care of the plants takes much more effort. 3rd and last. We moved into a newly built house without anything growing in the yard, so the first thing we did was seed the ground with grass. 4th meaning and last one for this word. To remove the seeds from an edible plant. 3 examples. 1. It's very easy to seed an avocado. 2. First seed the olives, then eat them. 3rd and last. It's hard to seed grapes before eating them, so I just do it in my mouth. Next word, 1814, salary. 1 meaning. Actually, everyone who listens to this podcast regularly knows that I love etymology or word histories. So this word comes from the time of the Roman Empire, when Roman soldiers were paid not with gold or silver, but instead with salt. So, salt, salary. 1 meaning. First meaning. The money that a person earns in a single month and which does not depend on the number of hours that they work. 4 examples. 1. I receive my salary on the 1st of every month. 2. Almost no one receives their salary in cash anymore. 3. Piecework, wage, and salary are 3 different ways of calculating a worker's pay. In piecework, a worker is paid for the number of products they create. For example, when a factory worker is paid for each toy car that they make. This is piecework. A wage is money made or paid per hour of work. And finally, salary is payment for 1 month of work and does not depend on the number of hours worked. 4th and last. My salary doubled compared to my old job, but I hate the work I'm doing. Okay, I said that we have only 1 meaning for this word, but there is a different form of the same word, where salary is turned into an adjective, salaried, with the IED ending. So, salaried, S-A-L-A-R-I-E-D. If a worker is salaried, they receive a salary rather than wage or other type of payment. 3 examples. 1. Just over half of our company's workers are salaried, while the others are paid per hour. 2. Salaried workers have to work more hours than workers earning an hourly wage, but they also get additional benefits, like better insurance and more vacation. 3rd and last. Being a salaried worker is a bad deal for a lot of people. Your company can tell you to work twice as many hours, and you will still get the same pay. Next word, 1815, illustrate. So again, coming back to etymology, this word contains the Latin root luster, which means light or shine. And this word has 2 meanings. The first meaning is to create a picture that is integrated into a book or other written media, especially in a way that explains a fact or process. 3 examples. 1. I have an office job during the day, but I also earn extra money illustrating children's books. 2. This diagram illustrates every step in the production of refined natural gas. 3rd and last. He illustrated the instruction manuals for cars and motorcycles, but his job was eliminated by automation. The second meaning and last meaning is also a verb, and it is to show that something is true using a fact, example, or story. 3 examples. 1. The famous fairy tale of Little Red Riding Hood illustrates why children should not trust strangers. 2. The boom-bust economic cycle of the United States at the end of the 19th century illustrates the need for rules to regulate the economy. 3rd and last. The space race between the United States and the Soviet Union in the 1960s illustrates the power of competition to improve technology. Next word, 1816, imply. 1 meaning, a verb. To give information that makes a person think something is true, but without saying it directly. 3 examples. 1. The fact that the dinosaurs disappeared when a huge asteroid struck the Earth seems to imply that it was the asteroid that caused the disappearance. 2. A diploma from a Spanish university implies but does not prove that the diploma's holder speaks Spanish. Some university programs in Europe are taught entirely in English. Third and last. When a man complains to a woman about his ex, he is frequently trying to imply both that he is single and interested in the woman. Next word, 1817. Breakfast. Actually, a lot of people don't notice that this word is actually made up of two words. Let's start with the second word in this word, which is fast. One meaning of fast is a long period of time when a person chooses not to eat anything. For example, some religious people fast before or during major holidays. Also, you need to fast before you have an operation and before you get a blood test. Finally, we all fast during the night while sleeping. So you might eat dinner at 7 p.m. and then fast until the next morning. And then what do? You break that fast, or you end the fast when you have breakfast. Interesting, right? Two meanings of this word. First one is a noun. The first meal of the day, eaten in the morning. 6 examples. 1. I have cereal and tea for breakfast. 2. What do you have for breakfast? Usually coffee, toast, and yogurt. 3. Let's meet for breakfast this Sunday. 4. We usually have a light breakfast, just some cereal, toast, and juice. 5. I have a heavy breakfast most mornings because I do physical labor. 6th and last. I skip breakfast every morning, but eat a very large lunch. Second and last meaning, to eat breakfast. This one is a verb. Not as common, definitely, but it still can be heard. 5 examples. 1. Would you like to breakfast with me tomorrow morning? 2. He breakfasted on the leftover pizza in the fridge. 3. I was so tired that I didn't even breakfast. I just stayed in bed. 4. It's safe to say that most people don't like breakfasting alone every single day. 5th and last. The best part of camping is waking up early in the morning and breakfasting on a mountaintop. Next word, 1818. Temporary. So in this word you can hear temp, which sounds a bit like time. One meaning, an adjective, used to describe something that will last or stay only for a limited time. 4 examples. 1. She could tell that his interest in her was only temporary. 2. Don't get so upset about problems that are only temporary. 3. Convincing teachers at retirement age to work another couple of years is only a temporary solution. 4th and last. I'll be staying at a business hotel in Riyadh for a month. It will be my temporary address. Next word is 1819. Liberal. L-I-B-E-R-A-L. So this word comes from the Latin root lib, L-I-B, which has to do with freedom. We have 5 meanings. The first is an adjective and is used to talk about spending or gifts that are very generous. So when you give generously, it means that you give freely. So the connection with freedom is the person gives freely without thinking that they are losing something when they give it. 3 examples of liberal in this meaning. 1. When a very successful local business owner died, he made a very liberal gift of over $2 million to local schools. 2. I can see from your clothes and car that your spending is quite liberal. I hope you're also earning a lot. 3rd and last. We thank you for your very liberal monthly donation of $500 to our charity. Second meaning. This one is an adjective connected with North American politics. So I mean specifically the United States and Canada. Why did I not include Mexico or Central American countries? Because they're not English-speaking countries and we don't really use these words that much when talking about that part of North America. So English-speaking North America, I should be more specific. So this meaning of liberal is used to describe political ideas that say that the government should have significant control of the economy and that the government should directly try to help poor people. So this is connected with liberal in the first sense, which we saw just earlier, where someone gives freely to another person. 3 examples. 1. Liberal doctrine states that supporting the poor helps maintain a strong economy by allowing a larger number of people to participate in the economy. 2. Liberal political thinking appeals to the human instinct to help others, but some claim that it just maintains poverty. 3rd and last, Franklin Delano Roosevelt is probably the most liberal president the United States has ever had. He expanded support for poor people more than any other president. So the third meaning is very similar to this one, but it is a noun. So in this case, liberals are people who have liberal political ideas. 3 examples. 1. As a stereotype, artists tend to be liberals. 2. Liberals are people who think the government should actively try to support poor people. 3. Liberals tend to be found in cities, especially large ones, while conservatives typically live in the country and in small towns. 4th and last, liberal politicians favor high taxes to support spending that supports the poor. The 4th meaning is also about politics, but is used in Europe rather than North America. In European politics, when we say that someone's political thinking is liberal, it means that they think that the government should have little control over the economy and should not actively try to help poor people. So this is almost the opposite of the meaning of liberal when talking about the United States and Canada. So 2 examples. 1. Adam Smith is the most famous and influential liberal thinker and described the functioning of free markets. 2nd and last, Germany's Liberal Party is called the Free Democratic Party, and it favors lower taxes for businesses and less government regulation of the economy. So the 5th and last meaning is just the noun of the previous meaning. So it is people who have liberal political ideas in the sense that we just talked about. 3 examples. 1. The number of liberals in European parliaments is small but growing. 2. European liberals claim that government spending is too high and that lowering it would stimulate the economy. 3rd and last, Switzerland is a relatively liberal country compared to its neighbors in the European Union. It has low taxes and low government spending. Okay, last word, 1820, lake, 2 meanings. The first is a noun, and it is a large, non-flowing body of water that is surrounded on all sides by land, and that usually is not salty. 4 examples. 1. We're lucky to have such a beautiful lake near our house. We can fish, boat, water ski, and spend time on the shore there, and in the winter we can sometimes even ice skate. 2. Most lakes contain fresh water, that is not salty water, but there are 3 large exceptions: the Aral Sea and the Caspian Sea, both of which are in fact saltwater lakes and are located in central Eurasia, and Great Salt Lake in Utah. 3. Artificial lakes are created by people, usually when they build a dam that stops the flow of a river. 4th and last, Lake Nasser is an artificial lake created in Egypt in the 1960s. You remember that I mentioned artificial lakes at the very beginning of the episode. Okay, the second and last meaning of this last word for this week is related to geopolitics. So in this context, a lake is a sea, that's S-E-A, where only a single country's military is present in significant numbers. In other words, a lake is a sea that is dominated militarily by a single country. 3 examples. 1. The Caribbean Sea has been a U.S. lake since the early 1900s. 2. China wants to turn the South China Sea into its own lake. 3rd and last, with over a dozen different navies operating ships in it, the Mediterranean Sea is anything but the lake of a single power. Okay, that's all for this week, everyone. I hope you found the words, collocations, additional meanings, and etymologies enriching. I certainly enjoyed telling you about them. Until next week, everybody.